and thank you everyone for joining us for this session of Webinar Wednesday. As you see on the screen today, we are going to review or look into an example application in GeoSync GO Plus for code enforcement investigations. With GeoSync GO, I just want to mention this, for this application, we're going to use our everyday technology, our cell phones, tablets, laptops. We're going to utilize the cloud, web services, some existing GIS data, and we're going to apply that to an everyday workflow. In this case, field investigations for code enforcement violations. Okay, for code enforcement investigations, what we're going to deal with are, of course, code violations. One of the things we will need to know is we'll have to identify violations or potential violations, how we received information on those violations, the reports, who reported it, who accepted reported it, when, that type of thing. And we will also want to investigate those violations to see if it truly is a violation and what needs to be done, what action needs to be taken. As part of all of this, we do want to collect and record all of that information so we can follow up on it later and actually track the status of the investigation, that type of thing. We want to the process basically that we're looking at in this case. We have calls. First, we will receive reports of violations in a couple different ways. One, and probably the most common, are calls into the office by concerned citizens that notice a violation and would like to report that, a code violation. And our code officers, when they're in the field, may notice a violation, or will, maybe not may, but will typically notice violations while they're out investigating other violations. So we'll have information coming in a couple different ways. We, of course, want to find that location on the map so we can mark where it is. Typically, this would be done by an address search, or it could also be done using a manual zoom of the map or our GPS location. So we want to allow for that. We also, of course, we need to create a feature for that violation after we find the location. Once we've identified and entered a feature for the violation, we'll want to do an investigation. Typically, that's done in the field by a codes officer. So the codes officer will need to be able to see those violations and where they are, if they're active. They will want to fill out a form about the violation using a mobile device, and we want to document any actions or status of that violation. All of this work from the field to the office and back is tracked and recorded for future reference, for follow-ups, just basically a way to track all of these code enforcement issues. So using that information, we need to design a workflow. In GeoSync GO, our workflows are basically our data, our information, and the forms that we apply to a map. This instance, we want to split our workflow forms up into 3 different pages, group the information that we have. For the first page, we're looking at info. It's just information about the violation or potential violation. We want to know who reported the violation, whether it was one of our codes officers or a citizen calling in, or verbal report from the citizen, or basically, or if it was, and we also want to know who received this notice, this report about the violation in the office or in the field. It was a code officer, it was someone in the office, and then also who reported the violation. If it's a citizen that calls in, or a verbal report, we would like to track who reported this violation. So basically, who reported it, who received it, and we also want to know what the violation is, what the type of violation, what the main issue. We want to know when the violation was reported, the actual date that we received the information, and of course where the violation is. So where we have, you know, where things where the site is. The next page, we want to look at our inspection information, because we're going to go out and do an investigation or an inspection of the violation. So we want to know, of course, who investigated, who our inspector was. We want to know when the inspection happened, and then we want to know what they found. You know, if the grass was mowed. It really depends on the agency's needs, but in this case, we've got whether the grass is mowed, if they had sanitation issues, environmental issues, and things like that. So, the investigation, who did it, when they did it, and what they found. Then we have a third page on actions. So, in this case, we want to know, was a notice of violation issued? If an inspector goes out and says, yes, this is a violation, did the officer issue a violation? And if so, when it was issued and who issued it? Then we'll also want to know the status of the investigation, if it's open or closed, because we don't want, you know, we want to know if they're open or closed, particularly for the codes officers in the field. That way they can have a map of just the open investigations that they need to deal with. Readily available, have that information readily available. Oops, sorry, wrong title here. Another thing, this page is a picture of an example of the map that we would use for this workflow. The one on the left is our office map. Typically in the office we would have a map configured where office personnel, administrators could see first off all of the code violations that have been reported. I do have this color coded by the active violations, or the open violations, are in red. The closed violations are in gray. So the office personnel may want to see that primarily. On the right is an example of the field map. In this case, the default map is or actually shows the code violations that are open, just to clean up the map so the code officers can see instantly, here's what I have to deal with, and not be cluttered by anything else. So here are the issues, here are the violations, where they are, and I need to go to these and investigate. Now we can have an option in the field where if the codes officer wishes, they can actually turn on another layer to see all of the investigations, or the enclosed investigations, in case they want to know what's happened on this location previously. So they can see a little history. Now, we talked about tracking and recording all the information. All these code violations, reports, and investigations are tracked. And we mentioned that they are all being tracked and recorded and tracked. So in the GeoSync GO AM Tools dashboard, you can actually see a more spreadsheet type view of the data, a list basically of all the items. Not only can we see all the attributes, all the information that was typed in the report, if there were photos attached, we can see those as well. And this can be sorted by inspection date, or sorted and reported based by inspection date, or inspector, or violation type, or incident or report type, what have you. This is where you can actually analyze the tabular style data, and you can also edit the information from here if necessary. So now I want to go through and look at the actual application that we have set up. In this case, we're looking at the field app, what we would have designed for the field application. As if I'm the code officer, I can open up the app on my phone or my tablet, whatever I have in the field. I can see the open investigations or the open violations. Simply, I can zoom to any of those. We do have GPS enabled. I don't have a GPS device on my laptop, but we can actually turn on GPS. We can enable that if we have it, so we can see where we are on the map. We have searches. we can search by address. And I'm looking for a particular address. If I can type, I'm looking for 3250 Blazer Parkway. There it is. So I can actually get to my violations based on address if I need. Or if we had IDs for our violations, we could actually add a search for code violation ID if it was something if we were using that type of information. So once I've found my location, either by manually zooming around in the map using my GPS or an address search, I see a feature, a code enforcement feature that has been added to the map for this location at 3250 Blazer. I can select that feature and see, of course, all the information that's available, that's been entered about it. Now, if as part of my investigation, I can fill out a code enforcement report. Receipt type, this must have been before we started tracking how we were receiving that, so I'm not sure if it was citizen call or verbal or a field location. And apparently we don't know who reported that. But we do have the address, the date it was received, and of course we have who it was received by. So here's my inspection. Inspection is going to be myself. The date, we will do today's date of, the inspection, we'll use today's date. Was the grass mowed? Nope. Do we have sanitation issues? No. Environmental issues? No. So basically you go through and select, it does have a sewer manhole. You fill out the forms. Then at the, let's see what this one was, the issue is grass was not mowed. That's our report. The grass was not mowed. So in my actions, I am going to I am going to issue a violation notice, and that notice will be today. I'm dealing with older data. I apologize. It shouldn't be this old. Issue the notice today, and I'm going to, since I issue notice, this violation is closed. So I save that. Now, in a moment, you'll notice, take a few seconds for it to, there, that violation is gone from my current violation list. Now, while I'm here, if I've noticed another violation, say next door, in the field I can create. So we mentioned that you can actually create, typically the reports, the violation reports will be created in the office. People will be calling in, but I'm actually in the field as an inspector, investigator, code officer. I noticed this building has a code violation. I can actually add that from here. We'll say the recipient type was field, reported by, it's going to be, since it's field, we didn't have anybody calling in. Address is, I'm not sure the address on this, 3300, 3290 Blazer Parkway. The received today by myself. My inspection, inspector was myself, and the grass has not been mowed here either. So that is my, and I issued a notice today. And we'll keep this as open. for now, because I'll need to follow up on this one. I'll save, or may need someone else to follow up on it. So there's the new violation in basically real time. So all of this information can be seen at the office as well. I mentioned let me minimize the map here. I mentioned the AM tools where we can see the information as it comes in. We have a refresh. It's a little load. And we have our code enforcement workflow. If I look at the bottom, there's one I just did today, just a moment ago. Also, I mentioned a photo. That did not have a photo. We do have the option of collecting photos as we go. There's the feature that I just set for that violation. I can select it, add media. In this case, I'm actually working from a laptop, so the only option I have is to choose attachments. If I am on a phone or a tablet that has that the camera can be activated, you would have the option of capturing the photo. So basically, you select capture, you take the photo, it links everything up automatically. You don't have to go search for it. But in this case, I have to choose my attachment. The computer locked up. Okay, apologize. My laptop is not functioning properly. So basically, I would browse to and select the photo or take a picture of the photo, and once it's there, find one here that we've actually linked photos to. They would be available not only in the app in the field, but also from. Oh, here we go. It was just a little slow. Photos, code enforcement, save that photo. And we will save it JPEG. Now, take a moment for it to get the data copied, the photo copied across the internet. But when it does come in, when it gets copied across, the photos will be linked both in the field and in the office, as you can see here. That concludes our tour of the code enforcement workflow in GeoSync GO. Thank you for attending.